All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Monday, February 16th of 2026. Hope you guys enjoyed the Daytona 500 as well as the NBA All-Star game yesterday. I know I did. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. Just can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So you can tune in any one of those days to get your questions answered. All right. Not a ton of sports going on in the DFS space today. We did have some tennis earlier today. We did have some League of Legends earlier today as well. So good luck to all of you playing those slates. But still plenty to talk about. Still have questions in the queue so we can get this get our SaberSim up on the screen. Ryan said, Andrew, Thursday can't come soon enough. Need NBA back. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the same way. I opened up the slate selector today and I was like, wow, it is a very, very quiet day in the DFS streets, but trying to take advantage of it personally and do some things around the house. So it feels like a good, that'll be my best advice to you guys. Get anything done so when DFS returns, we can hit the ground running and get back to our normally scheduled programming. But either way, there's still questions to answer today. Got some good ones in the queue. So going to pull up the first one. The first one was, can I upload a different entries file after lock and do late swap on its lineups? Thanks. So the answer is yes. The way late swap works is it goes off of whatever lineups are in the contest page. So when you upload lineups to the contest page, they go to the lineup section. When you go to late swap specifically looks at what lineups and what lineups are in which contests in the contest tab. So if you are changing this, if you are uploading a different entry file, well, SaberSim is going off of whatever lineups are in that file. It just believes that, hey, the lineups in this file and these contests are this user's at that moment in time. And then if you upload a different file, well, then those change, right? So yes, it's always going off of this information, the information that you give it, right? You're basically telling SaberSim, hey, these are my lineups. And then on another note, you're saying these are my lineups at a different point in time. So yes, you can do that. There is a follow-up to this question. I think we're going to spend the majority of our time kind of talking about this. Do have a quick one here that I want to hit. How many times do you run your play-by-play sims and contest sims? Good question. So the play-by-play sims get run 25,000 times per game. So if there is a slate with multiple games on the slate, we are simming each game 25,000 times. For the contest sim, what we do is we do a slate simulation. So if there are multiple games, there's 4 games. We take one sim of each game on the slate, create a slate simulation as if in real life, each game plays out one time. And then we use the information from those 4 sims total, play those out, assign scores to the lineups, and then put them in the standings and figure out how much each lineup makes dollar-wise. And then we do that again for contest sim 2, contest sim 3, contest sim 4. And we run the contest sim 100,000 times. So play-by-play sims are 25,000 per game or per event. For NASCAR, we're simming the race 25,000 times. For golf, we're simming the tournament 25,000 times. And then for the contest sims are always 100,000 times. So that number has crept up over time. It used to be 20,000, and then it was 50,000, and then now it's 100,000. So that's where we're at currently with it. If I hear of any increases in sample size for either option, I will be sure to let you guys know. All right, back to late swap. This is a follow-up from the first one. Ideally, I'd like the ability to load entries directly into a lineup group and enable/disable lineup groups using check marks for specific build/late swaps, and download the entries file for a specific lineup group during builds and late swaps. That way I can work different projection/strategy into different lineup groups. My question regarding overriding the entry file in the late swap is a brute force way of doing different strategies on different entries, but not my ideal strategy. Okay, so I actually think you can do this. And we're going to go over how. So I'm going to pull up our most recent late swap tutorial. So when you go to late swap, you get this modal and it says quick swap, full swap. Well, when you go over to the full swap section, you can decide which contests you want to swap. So I could uncheck a certain number of contests and only swap a subset. And then this is going to go effectively to like what we see up here. See, there's like different swap builds. So I could do, say I have 12 contests. I could do 4 contests in swap 1. And then I could do 4 other contests in swap 2. And then I can do 4 other contests in swap 3. Now, when I am within this swap and then I click save, I am only changing the lineups for those contests that were chosen. So the other contests don't change. They would change if I go to swap 2 because there's different contests here. I save those. So like what I'm envisioning is a process where you choose a subset of contests. Now, if you started this different process or this different strategy pre-build, you also don't have to redo all the work you've already done. So say I have three different pre-slate builds for effectively, we're assuming 3 different strategies. When I get to this screen and I go to do my swap 1, my build 1 for swap 1, or my swap 1 for build 1, I can use this use settings/exposures from section, change it from default to build 1. And I want to see if we show that. Okay, so like this is a point in the video where Jordan is doing that, right? He is selecting only some contests to swap at a particular time, at whatever point this is. And then at this point, right here, he clicks this drop down, right? So when I check my certain contests I want, I can go and then I can say, hey, I want to carry over the information, which could be rules, which could be filters, which could be projection adjustments, which could be a particular player pool for certain contests very quickly and not have to redo it all in the swap 1 by just going into this drop down and then selecting, say, build 1, right? I go and I select build 1. Now that's going to be used when I get into my actual swap 1 here. So I think there's definitely an opportunity to do exactly what you're describing with multiple late swaps. And then remember that when you save, you're only saving for the contests that are here. And then the contests that are here will be determined by the contests that you chose in the menu here. So give that a shot. I think that is actually exactly what you're looking to do. So I am optimistic that you will be able to achieve what you are trying to achieve in SaberSim already without any updates needed. All right. Those were our last questions. I did want to spend a little bit of time today. We had the first big kind of NASCAR slate of the season. I thought it would be a good opportunity to go into contest flashback and do a little bit of review, right? See how the tournament played out and see how it looks. Before I'm loading the results for the flagship from Daytona right now. Got a question in the meantime. Hey, SaberSim, I have a question. Can you realistically beat a GPP with one lineup with one ticket? Can we be honest on here with this one? So the answer is yes. The answer is that it is still hard to do. So like, for instance, take this lineup, this contest, right? Okay, there are 70,000 entries, right? Doesn't mean you can't win with less than the maximum number of entries. It just means it's going to be harder to do so. So like if we come in here and we look, right? The person who won this contest only had 13 entries, they did not max it out. There are users who entered one lineup that made a nice sum of money. So yeah, you absolutely can, more lineups just increases your odds of winning, like by having a higher percentage of the lineups in the contest. That doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win if you 150 max. We come in here and look at people who maxed it. I mean, look at their profit. A lot of these players lose, right? Minus 2,340, minus 2,480, minus 2,200, minus 1,400, minus 600, right? So people who say like, oh yeah, 150 maxers like always win, like that's not true. They do lose a lot, but ideally, if you have an edge in a contest, it gives you a better chance of realizing that edge the more lineups you play. So that's another way to think about it. All right, so I got these results loaded up. First big NASCAR slate of the season. Let's come in here and we're going to review some of the top lineups. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to sort. I like to sort by sim ROI. I like to look at the maxers. The people who are maxing this contest generally are some of the winningest players in the lobby. They've built up big bankrolls over time, and they obviously know what they're doing. So coming in here and looking at top sim ROI, this is something I've been suggesting to users like a little bit more recently. I think it's like a cool kind of concept. There's like there's obviously a difference between winning for real and winning in the post contest sim, right? I think if you want to try and strike a balance of players who are winning and players who are simming well, I think that's okay, right? So like what I think you can do is, okay, hey, we sort for maxers. We look at the top sim ROIs, high to low. Well, I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to try and find somebody who won, right? Okay, hey, Brooklyn Nets 23 won $121,000. They have a good sim ROI, 40%, and they actually came in second in the contest. Maybe I want to focus on them, right? Like that is totally okay. Do you want to skip down a little bit and look at some of those sets of lineups? I think you can totally do that. Here, I'm going to focus on some of the top sim ROIers. This is kind of where I prefer to be at, but I just want to throw it out there. It's like totally okay. Now, as I look here, so duplication wasn't super high in this contest. Average dupes 1, average dupes 2, average dupes 3. We do see some creeping up 7, 11, but like there's only one double digit here. So I said this like prior to the race that I wasn't doing anything to account for duplication because it seemed like it was overall not a super dupe heavy contest. I think that is more related to the nature of Daytona and how prominent crashes are and things like that. So we can see that also by the average salary. These users used a lot of, a very low amount of salary, 44.5, 43.5, 45.6, 45.7. So it's also hard, to you have to understand the dynamics of the race. And I don't want to give anyone the impression that like, oh yeah, we should always leave salary on the table, because maybe that's not true for the race next week or the race the next week where, you know, maybe drivers aren't crashing as much, right? So you got to kind of understand the race dynamics. I think for Daytona, it's obviously very clear to me. You can leave a lot of salary on the table. That helps your average dupes significantly. I don't know if that's going to be the case next week, the week after, right? But we can always use the flashback data from last season to kind of answer some of those questions for us, right? So, and then also the lineups that SaberSim generates for you will change based on those dynamics. Our team understands the different dynamics of the different races. And so you might get lineups that look completely different, maybe using a lot of salary. Maybe there's a point where dupes do come into play more and we need to start accounting for it. But for Daytona, we know we didn't need to, right? So here, keeping it rolling. Okay, average dupes, pretty low. We see sim average score. You know, there's always kind of a balance here, right? Like we look at a user like Royal Pain who has 7 average dupes and a high sim average score, 211, right? But then we look at some of these top users who have lower average dupes, 1 average dupe for DAX 1616 here, and a 185 sim average score, or 1 average dupe for the Fantasy Bros, and a 191 average score, right? So it's always kind of a sliding scale, I like to call it, where, pull this up. You got to figure out a way to strike a balance between dupes and sim average score, which is effectively just projected score. Dupes. Call side proj. So you can play low projected lineups, but they have to be low duped too, right? The idea here is that any lineup on this line is about the same sim ROI. So you can play low duped or you can play low projected, but it has to be low duped. You could play high dupe, but it has to be high projected. You can't play high dupes, low projection. This area here is very bad. You do not want to find yourself there. If you can find high projected, low dupe, that's like the most amazing lineups probably in the lobby. And those are super awesome, but also super hard to find. So like comparing here, right? Let's look at Josh Shocks and Royal Pain. These lineups, 152 sim ROI, 137. They're right next to each other. Pain has 7 average dupes. Shocks has 1. But Pain has a much higher sim average score. And Shocks has a much lower. So one player playing the low dupe, low sim average score angle. One player playing the high average dupe, high sim average score angle. The only difference here in results, okay, is you're mostly going to see this in the sim 99% profit section, where because Shocks has more unique lineups, when they win, they usually win more of the first place prize. So their sim 99% profit ends up being higher than the other user whose is 195. So there's like a $40,000 difference here in their top 1% outcomes, pretty much based on how often they are splitting the prize with other users. So that is some insight here into just kind of flashback results. Again, don't be afraid to use last year's race data and flashback results from then to give you ideas about how to approach the next upcoming race. That is absolutely what I would be doing. But wanted to dive in here, since we had a little bit of time, into the Daytona results from yesterday. Cadet said, "You're the man. Thank you for that answer. No problem." And then I have another one. What tools should we should be open every day for a beginning DFS player? What sims is needed besides the SaberSim optimizer? Yeah. So it's going to depend on the sport, obviously. I think there are good things to be aware of. So like for basketball, you know, I think a good one is the Basketball Monster news dashboard. where it basically just kind of summarizes potential injuries to be on the lookout for, right? So here I can see this is like the current injury report. Like, hey, these guys are currently listed as questionable. These guys are unlikely to play. Watching this list shrink and shrink and shrink throughout a day on Thursday, hey, what news is pending? What players are out? If you uncheck this box, you can see what players are out. These guys are suspended. This guy's injured. Injury news, right? Something really good to be aware of. Another thing would be starting lineups, right? Hey, when are the starting lineups announced? What are the starting lineups? That information can be found in the SaberSim Discord. I would, if you're not in the Discord, I would join the Discord with this option in the top right here. And then when a player is ruled out, we'll post a message like this. Hey, the following players have been ruled out. We'll say who they are. When starting lineups come out, we'll say, hey, we thought the lineup was going to be this previous version, but the actual lineup is actually this. And this player who's in bold is now starting, and this player who is scratched out is now not starting. And then you can see, hey, when a sim runs, hey, Williams went up because he's starting now, and then Tyus Jones went down because he's not starting, right? This is like really good information to have to see, right? Because if you're in SaberSim, well, all you see is the projection icon light up, but you don't actually know what changed. The information in Discord will tell you, hey, this is exactly what has changed. So I think injury news, sim news, starting lineups, those are like a couple things I would really be keen on. I would check those out. Also, I think that, well, this kind of got hard. So I don't believe Roto Grinders has a weather report anymore, but weather can be a factor, right? If it's golf, what is the weather for the tournament? I believe that for this weekend, for round 3, there was significant wind for one of the two splits, either in the morning or in the afternoon. And it was going to be really impactful to the golfers in that window. Okay, hey, what's the weather? How can I account for that in SaberSim? Hey, maybe I want to make a rule to use at least 4 players from the morning window where they have better weather, right? And I kind of want to fade the afternoon guys where I'm limiting them to like 2 players maximum because I want to try and avoid the issues with the weather, right? So things like that can be valuable too. I don't know a good source at the moment to get weather news since Kevin Roth is no longer with Roto Grinders, in case you guys missed that. So I'm sure that information is available somewhere. I just haven't caught up on where to find it. But yeah, so those are the big things I would be thinking about paying attention to outside of the SaberSim app. SaberSim Discord, injury news, Basketball Monster is a great option. It's free. Weather for golf, waves is a good one too. All right. Answer some questions. Did a little contest flashback on the Daytona race from yesterday. Think we are all set. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.